The Russians are coming.
Ooh.
Did you not know? They're coming. They're coming for you. So let's just start out with Case Study QB put up this video. And it has Zerlina Maxwell talking about how there were a lot of fake accounts pretending to be black that were supporters of Bernie Sanders, but she messed up and she meant to say Hillary Clinton. Because if there were any fake accounts that we found out, they were, especially the ones pretending to be black, they were Hillary Clinton accounts. So Zerlina Maxwell is literally this person that makes her living out of propaganda, out of just harassing progressives left and right. And that's all she does. I mean, that's really all she does. And she's been recently on Joy Reid. She's been recently in a lot of places. And I saw when I saw AOC retweet her, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's just watch a little clip of what she said over here. Because she started talking about the meddling.
When you talk about the online presence of bots and accounts that are impersonating, supporters of particular candidates, it reminds me so much of 2016. You saw Facebook recently took down accounts of people pretending to be supporters of certain candidates. And in 2016, I remember there being fake accounts of people pretending to be black people who supported Bernie Sanders. And I'm worried about the voter suppression that can result from this type of misinformation. And so in your view, what can we do about the presence of those bots and those online accounts where people are impersonating American voters to misinform the public about particular candidates?
That's a really important and profound point, because we're talking here about the bedrock of our democracy.
It makes no fucking sense. I mean, really, fam. Like, where do these people come up to? First of all, when it comes to voter suppression.
She cares about voter suppression.
Yeah, right. I mean, when it comes to voter suppression across the board, when it comes to our elections, we are not even close to having the right conversations. But to even go further and twist this and put this on the Russians that they were faking Bernie Sanders accounts.
Or just, in general, she's pushing more censorship.
Oh, yeah, she is.
You know what I mean? Like, it goes hand in hand. The people who are pushing Russiagate are pushing more censorship in the name of, foreign meddling. And it's funny to hear her talk about suppression, because the only votes that were suppressed during that primary were the votes that were for Bernie Sanders. And we all know that. We all know that they were not only suppressed, but they were completely pushed out. And it happened again this time. And not enough people talked about it, obviously, or did anything about it in 2016, because it happened again in 2020. Now, Nancy Pelosi, of course, she is the Speaker of the House. She is the Yas Queen, and she loves to match her masks with her outfit, which is really, really awesome. And it's so important. Americans love that shit. And so she said, American voters decide American elections. No, they don't. The intelligence community must provide the people with the information exactly necessary to understand how Russia is trying to influence the 2020 elections. Okay, Russia, after 3 years where we found nothing, Russia is still trying to influence our elections. God, they're so persistent.
Well, fam, we found more stuff that it was even more full of shit, that the actual source it came from, and this was released, that a lot of the Senate people, they knew this, that it was claims made about Donald Trump over drinking beers at a bar.
Right.
Like, those were the claims that went into the Steele dossier, which they manipulated to get a Pfizer court warrant. You see what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? Yep. Do you see what's going on here? This is some serious shit. Go ahead, now play it.
The intelligence community came out with a report this week that says that the Russians are taking, their words, a range of measures to undercut Joe Biden and to help President Trump get reelected. But they also said that China and Iran very much want to see the president defeated. Are you worried about foreign interference from both sides?
No, in fact, what I'm concerned about in the intelligence report, and we have Leader Schumer and I, Chairman Schiff and Vice Chairman, whatever they call it in the Senate, Warner, have written to say you have to release the information, not sources and methods, but the American people need to know what the Russians are doing in this case, and the American people believe that they should decide who the next president is, not Vladimir Putin. They try to blanket it with the Chinese, they said, prefer Biden over. We don't know that, but that's what they're saying. But they're not really getting involved in the presidential election. I've been a critic of China for over 30 years. I take no second place to no one on my criticism of China. But for them to give some equivalence is not right. It doesn't really tell the story.
Okay.
Is there any fucking adults in the
So
room?
it's just really, it doesn't make sense because, see, what she has to clarify that even though they hate China, China prefers Biden. So we say now, like, where are they getting their? This is like a joke. This is like, it is hilarious. And like she talks about the American people want to elect the right person. Let's not, like, I told her yesterday. I say, Nancy Pelosi, Russia doesn't have to meddle in our elections when the Democrats and the Republicans already do it all the time. Russia doesn't have to do it. You guys do it all the freaking time.
And that's the thing that we pointed out.
Exactly. And after 3 years, they couldn't find anything. And now they're trying to bring this back. And you see exactly how they frame it. Russia, China, Iran. This is a push for not just like against Russia. This is a push for more war, for us as Americans to stand against the evils of Russia and China and Iran, which happen to be the countries that are a large threat to us besides Iran, who we sanction. And, they are helping each other to stand against Western imperialism. Now, you can say that, I'm being unpatriotic over here, but what is patriotism? I mean, there's an extent where there's a limit to that. And to make things up about Russia wanting to meddle in our elections again, out of nothing, is disgusting.
They should have like little babies, like a little baby Joe, a little baby Nancy, and a little baby Trump, and throwing toys at each other saying, Russia, Iran, China. I mean, this is like ridiculous right now. And the fact that is that, with this whole situation going on right now, I'm going to dive into it, and hopefully we can bring more of our elections to light, what really goes on, because it's really disgusting, because the people who really own our elections is the corporations, and that's really the truth, and they're at the behest of whatever contracts given them by whichever party owns that state or is running that state. In this case, it's Padilla, so the Democrats. But the fact that they keep on doing this Cold War mentality, and a lot of people buy it, really. I mean, this is like children right now at this point. She really even went there and says, well, they said that, the double down for the Trump campaign is like, well, China and Iran want Joe. These are adults. These are the lawmakers here, ladies and gentlemen. We better pay attention to elections right now, because we need to get some serious people in there, because these people are Cold War antagonists, and they're very, very dangerous. They're corrupt to the core.
And I actually pulled up the document, the official statement by the Director of National Intelligence, directed by NC, National Counterintelligence and Security Center, William Evanina. Election threat update for the American public. And it was a press release, and this is what everyone's referring to. On July 24, 2020, and issued a statement to the American public. So let's look at that. And it's the same statement. Oh, that was July. So he says that an unclassified overview of foreign threats to the 2020 election, offering basic steps to mitigate some of these threats. At that time, whatever, today we're making good on that promise by sharing additional information with the public on the intentions and activities of our adversaries with respect to the 2020 election. Foreign states will continue to use covert and overt influence measures in their attempts to sway U.S. voters' preferences and perspectives, shift U.S. policies, increase discord in the United States, and undermine Americans' people's confidence in our democratic process. So then they go to list, many foreign actors have a preference for who wins the elections, which they express through a range of overt and private statements. Covert influence efforts are rare. We are primarily concerned about the ongoing potential activity by China, Russia, and Iran.
Jesus Christ.
So here they listed out.
They just make shit up. They make shit up.
It says China. We assess that China prefers that President Trump, who Beijing sees as unpredictable, does not win re-election. China's been expanding its influence efforts ahead of November 2020. So, if you don't want Trump to win, that doesn't necessarily mean you want Biden to win, right?
Well, that's what they're implying.
Exactly.
That's what they're implying. But really think about this. When we talked about this last time about Russia, who they wanted, and they were like, Russia did want Trump over Hillary Clinton. Okay, I can see that. But at the end of the day, Russia, if they really wanted anybody and cheat for anybody, they would have cheated for Bernie Sanders. They would have cheated for the guy who is less likely to be aggressive on their border.
Right.
And that is both not Hillary or Trump.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And Hillary, though, we would have been at war with Russia. Everybody knows that. I mean, everybody knows how she was heavily pro going to war with Russia. That's something that's undeniable even to this day. Like the fact that if Hillary were president, we would have been at war with multiple people.
She was talking about going into the airspace, right?
Oh yeah, well she was talking about a no-fly zone in Syria,
no-fly zone.
which pretty much means war with Russia. And she was also, remember, part of the whole crew to help push Obama for sanctions on Russia, which really splintered the relationship at the end of Obama's presidency. So it would have just been a continuation with Hillary Clinton, even more of a neocon than Obama, which is pretty bad. And it would have escalated to a point where we wouldn't like to see. Now, we've moved our attention to China now. I don't know if that's any better, but yeah.
So, out of all one of the people that Nancy Pelosi used to really not like was Ilhan Omar, but I don't know what happened in between the time Ilhan was first elected till the time now, where Nancy Pelosi has been endorsing the majority of the squad. I don't think she endorsed Rashida. I don't know if she did, but I don't think she did. I'm pretty sure she endorsed AOC.
He wants to. Do you want to read Russia real quick, Johnny, or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Yeah, because this is what Russia wants, though, really.
Yeah, this is what the intelligence...
This is so stupid.
This is what intelligence director is telling you what Russia wants. We assess that Russia is using a range of measures to primarily denigrate former Vice President Biden and what it sees as an anti-Russia establishment. This is consistent with Moscow's public criticism of him when he was vice president for his role in the Obama's administration policies on Ukraine and its support for the anti-Putin opposition inside Russia. For example, pro-Russia Ukrainian parliamentarian Andriy Durkak is spreading claims about corruption, including through publicizing leaked phone calls to undermine... Look, they admit right there, including... publicizing leaked phone calls. That leaked phone call that we listened to, Pasta.
Yep.
Where Biden says that confirms about what did he confirm in that phone call? Do you remember? I think he confirmed meeting with Poroshenko.
Well, you're talking about the thumbs up too as well. There was a couple leaked phone calls. The biggest leaked phone call was the one where he gave thumbs up to the regime change, and that's what they're kind of alluding to in here as far as his role and support for the which is really, to tell you the truth, this is how stupid the Democrats are. They expose themselves. People are going to be, what are they talking about, really? You know what I'm saying? And they're going to go back and look, and they're going to see that Biden supported a regime change in the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. You know, and there was a lot of stuff. He was talking with Poroshenko. There was so many phone calls that leaked. He was involved with getting his son on Burisma, on the board, getting all that money. It was just, they were all carpetbagging, including Nancy Pelosi, whose son got a contract in the Ukraine after the regime change.
Exactly.
It's crazy, though. It says it right there. It says,
what does Iran want? This is the next one. Oh, my God.
Iran, it says, we assess that Iran seeks to undermine U.S. democratic institutions, President Trump,
wonder why,
and to divide the country in advance of the 2020 elections. Iran's efforts along these lines probably will focus on online influence, such as spreading disinformation on social media.
Oh, be careful.
And recirculating anti-U.S. content. Tehran's motivation to conduct such activities is in part driven by a perception that President Trump's re-election would result in a continuation of U.S. pressure on Iran in an effort to foment regime change.
Is this the proper time to use the word obfuscating? Because they take like a partial truth and they really stretch it into a Jack and a Beanstalk story. Like, yes, Iran probably would want Joe Biden. You just want to use that word all the time. But Joe Biden, they would rather have Joe Biden than Donald Trump, but not enough to do anything to try to change anything. And then really, what are you going to do with changing with memes? And you know what I'm saying? They're not going to do anything. Well, and the shame about it is, fam, and I'll just hand it off to you, is that they have taken this Cold War rhetoric, this friggin' boogeyman rhetoric, and gotten people away from looking at really who's fixing our elections. And that's the disgusting thing, because everybody's looking at Russia, China, and now they're throwing Iran into the mix. Meanwhile, our enemies are within arm's length, in the establishment, in the elites, to control things in their own house, not outside influence.
And that's because people don't pay attention to foreign policy. So people don't know all this about Biden and Ukraine and Burisma and Nancy Pelosi's ties and even John Kerry's ties. All of these things people don't really know about. Like, I had a debate with somebody the other day, and he was trying to tell me that Trump is wants to go to war with Russia more than Joe Biden. And I was like, really? No, like, that's not true. I brought this up, and it's something that's not known to a lot of people, like what actually happened in the Ukraine, how they were pushing Nazis. They were helping Nazis in the Ukraine. I mean, this has really happened, but we don't hear about it because nobody really cares about what's going on in the Ukraine. But the problem is all of this is affecting us, because if you look at even Iran, just saying the audacity of Iran, we sanction Iran. Of course they're going to be against us. We sanction them. Sanctions cripple an entire economy, an entire people.
An act of
like
war.
It is an act of war. Exactly. Yeah. So
the Gray Zone also agrees with the statements we're saying
of course.
Of Ukraine and everything like that.
If you pay attention to foreign policy and you do the research like they do, like it's very clear here what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's no secret that the neo-libs and the Democratic establishment really took an alliance with the West in Eastern Europe and whatnot, and they didn't like Russia. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, that was an issue with them and stuff like that. Whereas if, even the whole administration, and when people say that Trump wants to go to war with Russia more than the Dems, they don't know what they're talking about. Even when Michael Flynn got in, his whole attention was like, who cares about Russia? Russia's done. We need to look at China. China. All the focus has been on China, and Iran. Iran for why? Because Donald Trump does everything for Netanyahu. He's Israel's little bitch. He is. He does whatever they want, including moving the capital to Jerusalem. And then, therefore, he'll go against Iran and pull out a nuclear deal because he wants to do that for Israel. So if you haven't been paying attention, it's quite simple. The answers are right in front of you. All you have to do is look at them.
And so going off of that, let me go back to who Nancy is supporting now, because all of a sudden she decided to endorse Ilhan Omar. And Ilhan posted on her Twitter, "In this house we fight. Hashtag for the people." And then she says, endorsed by Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. In her first term, Ilhan has already established herself as a leader on a host of issues, from child nutrition to housing to U.S.-Africa relations. We need leaders like Ilhan in the House of Representatives fighting for the people. Okay, so this is really interesting to me. The fact that
she would repost
that, but also the fact that even Pelosi is endorsing Ilhan. Because to me, if Pelosi felt you were any threat to status quo, any threat to what she's been doing, she wouldn't endorse you.
Yeah.
So the fact that she endorses Ilhan now makes me suspect of Ilhan and everybody else who she's endorsed. Because why would she? Why would she endorse you if you're going to stand up against her imperialism? If you're going to stand up against her quasi-progressivism, which is fake. It's not real. She's just all talk. So there's no reason for her to endorse you unless you're going to do something for her.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to be watching is what Ilhan is going to be doing foreign policy wise, because she was actually okay compared to AOC and others on foreign policy. She also
had some awful blunders.
But she also had some
the
and
whole
so I
genocide
think
of the Armenian genocide.
The Armenian genocide,
not even recognizing that, making a vote on that. Like, what the hell is wrong with you, lady?
Well, yeah, that and just
anti-Assad.
It's very much like Western, But like now that Nancy Pelosi's endorsed her, it's like, okay, well, now she's got the blessing of Nancy Pelosi. Again, this is why it's a waste of fucking time, in my opinion, to literally try to reform this Democratic Party, because I've seen nothing but capitulation and co-option. These people go in there and they turn around and they start saying, well, my foreign policy is similar to Joe Biden's. Oh, I'm delegate to the caucus leadership. Oh, Nancy Pelosi endorsed me. Let's put that everywhere, even though she's a fucking warmonger imperialist.
They don't get it, do they?
Like,
they don't get
it doesn't matter, because their foreign policy can be pro-imperialist as all hell. It can be so neocon in its actions. But if their domestic policy is, oh, let's push Medicare for all, let's push a Green New Deal, they can get away with it. And this is my problem with the progressive left is that they don't pay attention to foreign policy. So they're still simping for Ilhan, AOC, and the squad, when the squad is so, right now, they're showing me they're ready to get in line behind people like Nancy Pelosi's foreign policy. And that is so detrimental to everything we want to get. Everything we want to get, like the Green New Deal, Medicare for all these things we want aren't going to be possible under a military-industrial complex that's so big.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. It's going to come back and bite us in the ass. Further, we can get into serious war and serious conflict right now, especially when all these countries have nuclear arms.
Yeah.